Hello everybody and welcome to another rapid speedrun game against Pawn Auto, rated 1485. We get a Scandinavian. I'm almost looking more forward to Scandinavian declined because I really like those positions, but most people will accept. D3 is a non-standard move that doesn't take full control or as much space in the center and therefore is less desirable than D4. This guy makes ridiculous pawn moves. Notice he's 1485, but he's staying true to his name, Pawn Auto. So, do we need to really deviate from our setup? You could, but you could also ask for trouble if you don't understand the center. He attacks our queen. You could go to a5. You could choose a different square now that the game is a little different than a regular Scandinavian. But let's stay thematic. Queen a5 is fine. He X-rays our queen. We know the response when that happens. C6, so we never run into trouble. He develops his knight. We develop our bishop, preparing castling. We almost have our setup. We're 2 moves away from completing our development, which would be 10 moves. So you see it takes us about 10 moves to complete our development. So go through your chess games. What are you doing in the first 10 moves? Are you snatching b pawns? Are you moving your queen around 3 times? Are you moving the same knight 3 or 4 times just to trade it off? What are you doing? You see, are you wasting time moving the same pawn like this? He could have put it there originally, right? Super weird. It's almost like he's giving us free turns and we thank him. So we're going to castle and develop next. And I already prefer black because I feel like I'm playing a Scandinavian but with an extra tempo or two. Because he wasted time on d3, d4, and these little bunny ear moves are not exactly useful. So I feel like I have 2 tempi up, where normally he would be like bishop c4 and castle. He has this instead. So I like it. He hits our queen, which you have to notice. And we're going to go to c7. This is going to be our retreat square probably for the rest of the games. We probably won't meddle with b6 anymore. Not really my favorite. I kind of like the security of c7. He trades knights, which puts both of our bishops on reasonable squares. And his d-pawn, if he does not play c3, will attack it. You see now if your queen was on b6 it would be nice because it would be a double attack, but it's only because he took your knight, right? Like if we went queen b6, he does not have to take our knight. He can retreat, let's say, and he's hitting your bishop, you're hitting the pawn, but you know how I hate b pawns. You're just asking to collapse your own position. So he tries to improve his bishop instead of moving a new one and castling. Do you see these very simple errors even though he's 1500? Like it's still move 12, he's still paying no attention to his king or even his light square bishop for that matter. So he tries to protect the pawn with the bishop, gets in front of the pawn, super awkward. But we don't mind it. We just want to continue our development towards the center. Now he develops to c4. No specific threat. Ready to castle. But now we're also in position to improve our knight for free by going to b6. I know that in a lot of my Scandinavian games I say to equalize central space, you look for e5 and c5, just like in Slav positions. It's true. But you could also try to improve your knight under certain circumstances. It might not be bad before you do that stuff. So for now, because I'm going to hit the bishop for free, and then when I put it in the center, I'm going to hit another bishop for free. You see, it's different. Because now I'm teleporting my knight from this passive square to a centralized square, basically in one turn, in effect. And I was going to say he would give me the turn back because he doesn't want to give up the bishop, but he leaves it here. So now we can get the bishop pair if we want it. You see, so c5 and e5, they're not necessarily going anywhere. We could equalize the space advantage, but we didn't have to do it in like super urgent. So anyway, if this was an outpost, like if there was no c pawn on the board, I might consider keeping the knight on that nice outpost. But because c4 exists in the future, and it will mess up his pawn structure, I don't really see the downside to taking that bishop. In fact, I see a long-term upside, and that is pawn structure. Bishop pair, I'm not going to rely on too heavily, as in these types of structures, when you get the bishop outside the pawn chain, you generally don't keep it because he can hunt it down a variety of ways. So I'm not expecting to keep it long term, the light square. I would if I could, but we'll see. Actually, now that I mention all of that, h6 is a move in case you do want to keep it. Potentially going to the center, but if you try to stick it here, again, he can eventually kick it unless you set up like a light square blockade with your pawns, but that requires more knowledge, right? Um, so yeah, you have options. You can get your rook to the center. You can go a5. Might be an argument for c5 even early, even though it looks like a pawn sack. Queen f4, h6. I feel like we have lots of different ideas. Now, to equalize, now let's say c5, right? If he took, that would be great. He just has weaknesses, easily targetable by rooks. Super easy game. If he pushes, he's hanging this with threats. But he can push past. So what if we push, he pushes, we take once, so he can't push past. But if he recaptures with the queen, he'll be hitting our light square bishop. So here, we hit the bishop. Bishop goes, I don't know, let's just say it goes back for argument's sake. We can always go rook d8 and pin the pawn. I like that a lot, actually. We do give his knight the central square, but we can chop it. Also here, we can start with this. If he does push, I mean, who cares? He's going to lose that pawn if he pushes. We have a ton of moves, but I'm going to go for the c5 equalizing immediately. I'm not going to waste time with the rook, with the pawn, I'm going to get on with it immediately and try to take advantage because my bishops happen to be aiming here. Now he also walked into a potential, like he can never take or push because of the fork. Before it was just a pawn, now it's a fork. And this looks wrong. I feel like he needed to address the situation because this, not sure what it does. Okay, maybe it tries to secure a knight here, but again, that would isolate your pawns and no big deal. We have so many moves. Now even rook d8 is interesting because his queen is just misplaced, but I think the right move is c4, taking advantage of his bishops being entombed. If he goes here, I imagine it's trapped. If he goes here, I imagine it never gets out, because how? So it seems to be entombed. If I play b5, the only way to undermine it is with the a pawn going to a4. We could replace it, but we would have a backwards b5 pawn we'd need to protect. But now that we have this structure, a knight would sit beautifully on the d5 pseudo outpost, but we don't have a knight. But we do have a bishop, but it can't go here because of his rook. So again, rook to d8, pawn to b5. Perhaps h6. I think maybe there's a fancier solution. Queen up? And you may say, what does that do? Well, it supports this square because I really want to go here. I want to put my bishop on d5 since I have no knight. I can't move it here, but this is kind of slow. So, I mean, rook to d8 is an obviously great move, but if I move my queen up and he does, what can he possibly do? Let's say queen e2, double attack my pawn, supporting the center, and denying my bishop that square. Then I have to play like b5, but then he gets another turn. And I'm still never getting this in if he finds queen e2. So I'm not going to play hope chess and hope that he doesn't find queen e2. I am going to bring one of my rooks, although maybe I'm not. I'm going to go b5. Am I? I feel like, I don't know. I want to go rook d8, but then I'm like, I'm kind of leaving this here. So what is my rook doing? I don't really intend on pushing anytime soon. So you know what? Since nothing jumps out to me like it needs or should be done, I'm going to do this because I think my bishop should be saved. With the pressure on this backwards doubled pawn that can't move, I think it's very well worth saving. See, he finds queen e2 anyway. And I think this is a useful move. Also for our king in the endgame. So I really like that move. Especially if you're unsure. We know this is an improving move, so. He moves his queen, but I don't necessarily... Okay, he's attacking the pawn. We had b5 ready. We can always put a rook on the c file, but we're not going to need it. The important thing is to secure the b5 point. It would be easy if he didn't have the a pawn because we could just go a6. But he's going to want to trade those. And we don't want his bishop to get out. So we might not even take this pawn because if you take it, he could then go bishop b1, and at the cost of a terrible pawn, his bishop's back in the game. So we're going to leave this pawn entombing his bishop. We're not going to take it, even if he hangs it. We still want to save our bishop, though, even if we're not going to take that pawn, because it's a long diagonal, a nice diagonal. See, he immediately goes for the undermine. So this is kind of an automatic response. He's going to trade and then pressure the b pawn. But this opens up our rook on the a file. And before I didn't want to put my rook on the d file because I wasn't sure if I'd be using the d file. But I'll definitely use a and b if he starts trading stuff. He doesn't trade, which is awkward and weird, and what the heck is this? Okay, he wants to take and then trade a pair of rooks and then leave his bishop here as a defensive tool. That's what it seems to me. A little bit weird, but it's possible. I mean, even if you get your queen here, it looks so active, but what is it doing? Like, what is it doing? What if we can get our bishop to the fianchetto? Is that even possible? We would have to play e5, but that's not really viable. I mean, if I move my rook, he's just going to take and trade rooks, and I'm going to have wasted a turn with my rook. If I put my queen on the light squares, though, maybe I should. I mean, I'm going to have to defend b5 anyway, although it looks really nice on dark squares because he's not controlling dark at all. If he just jumps his knight in here, what's the big deal? Like, I'll take it, and then like I can't really use the dark squares. I think I need to play on light. I can't really explain this to you for some reason, but I feel like I need to move my queen from the dark complex to the light, even though the dark looks appealing. I kind of want to focus on my light square bishop. I don't know what it is, but that's what screams at me. He just moved back and forth. Is he just going crazy? What? Why would he do that? Okay. Not again, we're running low on time. Is there a different way to protect this square? There's not. Okay, so we have to wait for him to move his queen voluntarily. So in the meantime, let's just activate our piece, put it on the files where we'll likely play. We could have put it to d8 too, though. Actually, there's this idea of going b4, and if he takes, he has to watch out for our bishop. So in some lines, not right now. Okay, so he moves the rook. What's the drawback? Now we have access. That's what I wanted. You see how we just patiently waited, improved our position, everything was looking kind of nice and harmonious, and it almost looked like how do you improve from there, right? Everything's perfect. So he takes, what did he take? He takes the pawn. Let's take the pawn. Is he going for, that doesn't work. Okay, he moves his rook back. I thought he might have been trying to maybe do some weird trick, but I don't think it works. Okay, now he's hitting it, but now we can drop back to this beautiful square. And this defends c4. Awesome. But since his structure's already messed up a lot, I'm going to take his potentially annoying knight, leaving his bishop entombed, right? It's in jail, and our dark square bishop's not. And whether he gives us the queen straight or not, we're ruining his pawn structure even further. So let's do that since we have 20 seconds. And now he has a terrible structure. And now we want to keep his bishop trapped. Can we win it? Because it's pinned. It has nowhere to go. So we can maybe win it. We attack the pawn and double. This wasn't part of the plan, like actually winning the bishop during that calculation. It was just to get this position and then play from there. We just so happened, like if his bishop's entombed, that's almost like winning a piece, but obviously taking it should be better because even though his bishop's entombed, it prevents us from playing something like b4, which is desirable because his bishop would get out. But if it's off the board, then you see how that allows things. So a trapped piece, not necessarily as bad as one off the board. Plus, a trapped piece can always sacrifice itself for material, right? To at least get something. If it's off the board, you can't get anything. But we have 13 seconds, and I don't know. I'm going way too slow for some reason. I love our position, though. I mean, okay, he wants to take. Okay, he wants to go here. But this is the same thing. You're still in like a permanent pin. I think this just delays the inevitable. Oh, oh, he wants to take a pawn. You sure about that, guy? How do you defend the bishop, though? That's what I was saying. I feel like it just delays it. And now that this bishop is fully open, I mean, that's GG. You could say opposite color bishop, but it's not opposite color bishop. Oh, this is a great example of a tactic that I mentioned where they can interrupt the connection with this check and take the other piece. Now, it doesn't work here to win material. It would have been a trade. But when there's a queen involved, it does win material. So I went way too fast for you to even know what I'm talking about, but we are now just up, I don't know, everything? Everything. I don't know why he's playing. It's clearly over. And you can convert any number of ways. The easiest is at first sight, at first glance, take his rook. If there's ever an opportunity that you see to trade, you immediately jump on it. It doesn't matter what else is happening. You take his rook. You trade. It makes the win so easy because if all he has is pawns, you know ahead of time his moves, exactly what your responses are, exactly like it's just so easy. There's nothing to think about, basically. And this guy's, I mean, come on. I hope you guys don't do this in your games. If you want to fight for stalemate and you're actually serious about it, that's different, but don't just stall like this. It's pretty retarded. He can't move his king legally. So he's trying to move it, but he's trying to figure out why he can't move it. And that's because your king can't move. And then he resigns. What? That makes no sense. Anyway, he still had a rook. We get the Scandinavian modified because of d3, but you're going to have to adjust to everything your opponent does, and they're going to do weird stuff all the time. So we get our setup. Center development, center development. You've heard it a million times. Queen a5 is our move, but I think once we cross 1600, our rating, we're going to switch to Queen d8 Scandinavian, and you'll see that. Okay, c6, development and king safety. King safety and development. Forced move, queen was hit. Forced move, knight was taken. Yeah, you see already black's a lot better. This was a weird move. Development and center. Oh yeah, maybe c5? Yeah, the immediate c5. I didn't even recognize at the time because I was too baffled by his move. I was probably making fun of it, but c5 because if he takes, it's just as bad. So you could play c5 there, but whatever. Development center's fine. Improving a piece for free. Improving a piece for free. Free stuff. Now it says it's already -2 for black. So that's how bad this position is for white. And we didn't do anything. We didn't commit our pawns too far. We're not up material. We just ruined his structure and got the bishop pair. Two longer term advantages. And now we throw in c5 at -2. It is the best move. It is the move that equalizes space and the one you're trying to get in. Here it also severely increases your bishop strength. Find the best move again, improving our position for free by entombing our opponent's bishop. Trapped. He goes back, and here, okay, it says you can go b5 or a6 to play b5. Basically, solidify this pawn, and just as at the same eval of the top three of a6 and b5 is h6. So we did think for a long time. We did kind of come to the conclusion that some of the moves maybe not fully required, like a rook on the d file, and it may not be exactly clear like what we want to do, but that h6 would be useful, so we made it. And then we did play b5 next, force move. a6, so we played their top three moves in our own order, and two of them were forced. I really thought he was going to take, even though that's not his best move. I guess if he takes, he can never move his bishop because of the pin. Yeah, this is just a terrible construction. Absolutely terrible. So is this move anything? They say you can move a rook to c file or d file. And I don't have enough space to show more moves, but my move's the same. So just improving a piece and really just looking at the light squares. That's funny. They want their top two moves rook a b8, not rook f b8. But I want to take advantage of this. I want to make sure that he always has problems here. I kind of like that. They say you can go to the d file or the b file. So we go to the b file. He follows us at -3. We're completely winning here. And visually, our pawn chain is perfect, right? No weaknesses, unless you consider this undermining b5 point of weakness. Our bishop's just aiming somewhere. Our rooks are just aiming somewhere. It looks pretty harmonious, right? And it's almost like, well, even if you had free turns as black, what would you do with them? And I could see a lot of people getting stuck here. Even myself, you could see how I was deliberating. It wasn't clear exactly what should be doing. But we did end up finding the right stuff. Bishop e4, best move. Rerouting it because, like I said, you don't want to take this. A lot of people under 1800 will automatically take that pawn if it's hanging. But allowing bishop e1 is a huge mistake. Anyway, he takes force move. He hits our bishop. And now, although you could retreat, and it's nice, I would do that if he didn't have a knight and I didn't have a dark square bishop. Like if those were off the board, I would love to place my bishop there. Beautiful. Beautiful full map control. But because there is a knight, that could be potentially annoying. And trade for that bishop at some point. We just take the knight, ruin his structure get the queen trade, and then find the best moves to pressure the two weaknesses he has right in front of us. He tries to defend, and we just improve a piece for free. This does not actually save the bishop, so like if he keeps this construction and says I'm going to save my bishop, right? Assuming it worked, assuming I can't add pressure, assuming I can't push this pawn and kick the rook, which I could just right now go b4 and then kick this rook away and win the bishop. But let's say I couldn't. That would mean that you can't move any of these three pieces, and I can only can't move these two pieces until I feel like it, like when if I want to win a pawn or something, which means I have infinite turns to do whatever I want with any of my stuff, my bishop, my pawns. So obviously you can't defend like that. In this case, it doesn't actually even defend the bishop as it hangs. So good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid games down in the comments. Bye bye.